Hey guys, I'm Ed Pizza.
And I'm Steph Sweets, and today on Catch Us at the Castle, we are going to be talking about all of the parties and fun things to do at Disney World during the Christmas holidays. We're so excited for this time of year. It's one of the best times to visit Disney World, and I'm excited to share with you the things that we know and some, like I said, fun things to do that don't cost any money.
Hello, dreamers of all ages, and welcome to Catch Us at the Castle.
Should we start with Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite events at Disney World is the whole Christmas season. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. She is Steph Parkside on on Instagram, and I am at Pizza in Motion on all those social media channels. So Magic Kingdom does an incredible job of decorating the parks, and so does Disneyland at Christmas time. But I think one of the benefits of the extra space at Disney World is that they have the ability to do some cool stuff with festivals. You and I have both been to their Very Merry Christmas party in the past, and it can be a really interesting way to do the parks around the holidays. As we'll go through into the details, you need to be a little bit careful from a budget standpoint because these events are not cheap. But I would say if you work to maximize the event, you can still get reasonable value out of it. The parties are timed events, and that's really key because if you're in the parks on a party night, you're not going to get your full day's worth from a regular park ticket. Same thing with a Christmas party ticket. You're not going to be able to be there for the entire day. You do get to enter early. But there's an important distinction to make if you're on a budget is to make sure you're choosing, in most cases, one or the other on a specific day, especially because for this year with Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, the prices go from $169 a ticket for the event all the way up to $229 a ticket. And then I believe there's tax on top of that. So these are not cheap events. From an hour standpoint, these are, after hours events. We're going to talk about a couple of different events, both in Magic Kingdom and in Epcot. But these after hours events do allow you to enter the park early. And that's a big key. This is the way to get the most value out of these events. The party itself lasts from 7 p.m. to midnight, but you can get in as early as 4 p.m. We're going to go through a lot of different activities that are part of these events. But the important details to know is that these are going to run on a very specific list of dates. We'll include a link to that in the show notes. You do have to buy tickets ahead of time. They don't sell out quite as quickly as the Halloween-themed events, but they will ultimately sell out. And in fact, at time of recording, a handful of dates have already sold out. But definitely not the sort of event that you want to show up to at the park and hope that you can buy tickets that day.
For sure. Absolutely. There are a lot of fun things happening during the party. So should we talk a little bit about those exclusive things that you can only see and participate in during the party time, such as cookies and the parade and the fireworks and the snow?
And let's just say Santa Jack. I mean, they're really like Santa Jack is really, like Sandy Claus is really like the height of my fun when it comes to the Mickey's Not So Scary. I'm sorry, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, the other version of Jack.
Amazing. I've done this party, but it's been a few years. The last time I've done it was definitely before COVID, and it might have been like 2018-ish that I did this party. So my experience isn't as fresh. However, it is one of my favorite parties as well. I feel like you definitely get your money's worth out of this one, and you do need to be strategic around it. When I went, though, I don't remember there being Santa Jack like in the parade. Was he in the parade? Or are you talking just meet and greet?
So as I recall, he does a meet and greet in Town Square Theater.
Yeah.
And that he's not in the parade that I recall.
Okay.
That's
I was like, that's weird.
Santa
That's
parade.
different. Yes.
But you do get Santa Jack and you get Sally as a meet and greet in Town Square Theater. And I would just say, given the popularity of Jack, that line can get long pretty quickly. So that's one of those ones that I would either jump in line right when you get there, or try to hit it later in the evening. People do thin out as you get closer to midnight. The last time we did this, which was not last year, but the year before, it really did start to thin out after, call it 10 or 10:30 p.m.
Yeah, once they do the earlier shows of the fireworks and the parade is done, then a lot of families start checking out. And so you can get some good time in where there's not as many people in the park, for sure.
Yep. You mentioned treats, and there are a handful of treats every year that are included, and there's usually a map for the locations where you can pick those up. We've had varying opinions about the treats over the years. A couple that were winners. Most of them are just sort of like, they're okay. I would say, I think that that's definitely an area where I would say if the line is long, it might be worth bypassing the treats and looking for some of the other fun one-time activities.
Yeah, when we went, I actually never had any of the hot chocolate or the sugar cookies because the lines were too long, and so we did other activities. And then by the time we came back around again to try again, they were out.
Yeah.
So I've never had any of the party treats that are complimentary with your ticket at the Very Merry Party, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How do you typically strategize? Do you have a strategy that you follow when you go to these events to make sure that you can maximize?
When the kids were younger and rides were really important, we definitely had a strategy, and it was making sure that we, hit Jingle Cruise during the parade. For folks that don't know, there's an overlay of Jungle Cruise during the holiday season, and so Jingle Cruise could be incredibly popular and tough to get on. So we would target the parade. If that wasn't important to the kids, there was that period of time where it wasn't. Now, the rides aren't necessarily as important to them. The parade's definitely a key element. But I would say if rides are important to you, I would not try to hit rides early because you still have the overlay of regular guests in the park from 4 to call it 7. And in reality, while they do a good job weeding people out with armbands and stuff like that, the line's still full of people at 7. And so if rides are what you're there for, I would be strategic and look for short lines and then wait till after 10 or when the parades happen, just so you can hit the shorter lines. That's been our strategy if rides is your focus. Typically, we enjoy some of like I've surprised myself, but we really enjoyed the dance parties that are over in, say, like Tomorrowland. And so we would kill time earlier in the evening, sort of like hanging out at the dance parties. They had the tinier kids one, which I think is still in Cosmic Rays, has characters that you can dance with, reindeers in costume and stuff like that. And so kids always had a lot of fun with that. And that would let you sort of weed out the crowds until things were a little bit more tolerable.
Yeah, so we will often spend the first little bit while we're waiting for that clear out to happen, grabbing some food, making sure that our tummies are full right when we first get in there until the party time actually starts. Because you can get into the park, like you said, there is some overlap. And so we always want to make sure that we eat, tummies are full, and then we're ready to go as they start weeding people out. Like you said, my strategy has changed over the years. So when my kids were younger, I took time to talk to them ahead of time to find out what their priorities were, let them know about what characters I thought would be there to see if there were any priorities there that we needed to wait in a long line for. We did wait in a long line one year for Jack because that was a priority for everyone. And then there have been years where rides were the priority, and my kids still talk about riding Dumbo over and over and over again when it was midnight and we were still there, riding Thunder Mountain, just being able to get off and get back on, or even sometimes being able to stay on, which is not the rule for sure. Once in a while, you'll get that magic and be able to stay on. And so those are core memories that my kids have from those parties that they still talk about. Definitely, as they've gotten older, doing the parade is important to them as well. And then any exclusive fireworks shows, things like that, they always like to make sure that we hit as well. But definitely talking to everyone and making sure that you understand and that they understand what the options are and where priorities are, so that there aren't any disappointments at the end of the night with sad people that didn't get to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah, typically, and I don't know if this will be the case this year, I assume it will be, but typically for Very Merry Christmas Party, you'll see some rides like, Tiana and Tron that will operate without the virtual queues in place, just on a standby basis. And so if those are important rides for you, especially given the cost, I think somebody in our friend group showed a $40 individual Lightning Lane price for Rise of the Resistance the other day. So if you did want to either avoid that cost or help subsidize the cost of your ticket, trying to squeeze in a Tron ride can definitely help impact the overall budget. And you mentioned parades. I think it's a really good parade. Always has been when we've gone to very very Christmas party since our daughter was a little thing. So maybe 15 years we've most years we've done it. So probably done 10 or 12 of these. If they're old enough for the second parade, much easier to get great seats closer to parade time than the first parade. Usually the first parade's like 8 or 8:30. Second parade is 10 o'clock, and after that first parade, there's usually a decent push of people heading for the gates.
Do they, I don't remember if they do it like Disneyland where it's a parade, fireworks show, and then a parade.
So I think that there's more of the stage shows at Disney World. I feel like there's 3 or 4 of those over the course of the night, and I think there's only one fireworks show. I don't think they do fireworks after the first parade. I think it's just the one fireworks display later, and that's
okay.
That's a great time to hit rides if rides are what you're there for, because you got both the parade and fireworks happening, right roughly around the same time. And if I remember correctly, there's usually a late stage celebration right around that same time in that 10:30 window. So I can remember times, to your point of like being able to ride things multiple times. I don't remember if this was pre-COVID or not, but we did back-to-back mine trains during that parade, if I remember correctly. So it could really, with people leaving and people getting invested in the parades and the fireworks, some of those really popular rides really, really thin out.
Yeah. And that's a really good point about the lightning lanes, and especially the single lightning lanes, making sure that you hit those rides as many times as you want to when the crowds are low. It's a great way to, like you said, subsidize, I guess, in a way, the cost of the ticket. Justify the cost of the ticket because you won't need to buy a lightning lane later on.
Yeah. I'm curious. We didn't talk about this beforehand, so I won't put you on the spot first, but I'm going to tell you what my ideal Christmas party evening would be today, and then I'm curious to hear what your ideal Christmas party would be. So I'm not an hour maximizer like I used to be, where it was like, make sure I'm first in line and get in everything possible and stay to the very end. So I think if I were doing it today, I would avoid the 4 p.m. entry. I'd probably go find a cool dinner somewhere, and I'd look to enter somewhere between, call it like 5 or 6 o'clock. I'd probably spend that first hour or so looking around at decorations, maybe seeing if there were, like, where are the treat lines? Where am I going to line up first? Is there something I really want to angle for when the party starts? After that, I think I would be, I like Jingle Cruise to me is probably the one must ride for that evening, just because I like the festive theme. I enjoy that part of it. If Thunder Mountain were up, I also think that's sort of a fun ride, especially if you can do it during, say, like one of the celebrations or the fireworks or something like that, so you can see some cool stuff. And then I think from there we'd phase into the Tomorrowland side of the parks and do the dance parties. And then if we still had energy after 10, then I think we'd focus on rides after 10. As much as I love Jack, and especially in his Santa costume, I think that would just be like whatever mood my son was in that night, how important it was, and then I'd be keeping an eye on the line. Only downside there is Town Square Theater is, a fair distance away from anything else you're really gonna want to do at the at the park, because it's at the very front of the park. So for me, that would be how I'd spend a very Merry Christmas party. Curious what you would want to do.
So if no kids were with me and I was just doing exactly what I wanted to do, then I love the idea of eating outside the park, catching dinner maybe at one of the monorail resorts first, and then heading into the park. I totally agree. At 5, 6-ish, maybe even on the 6-ish side, catching a 4 o'clock dinner, and then heading in on the 6-ish side. And then for sure I want to hit the fireworks and either the first or the second parade, just kind of depending. I probably would try to get a walk-up spot over in Frontierland, just because that seems to be an area where crowds are lower and you can get a walk-up spot fairly easily because everyone wants to be on Main Street. So
Sure.
I would probably hit that area for the parade, and then fireworks, of course. And then I would absolutely do the Jingle Cruise overlay. And then other than that, just any rides that maybe have low wait times that I have energy for like you before I need to call it a night. I would want to have on my bucket list to try some hot chocolate and cookies just because I've never done it. So that's one thing I need to cross off my list.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you bring up a good point about parade route. No question Main Street's the most popular. It snows on Main Street during the parties. So that's definitely a draw. But Frontierland, I think, is great for that reason you mentioned. A lot easier to get a seat. The other thing I'd say, too, is great jumping off spot right after the parade passes you to catch any number of rides. If Thunder was up, you've got Thunder. You could get to Pirates. You could probably scoot around and jog to Jingle Cruise pretty quickly. Mansion is back there. Mine Train. So just a lot of easy rides to access if you're on that backside of the park, where if you're on Main Street, you're just sort of stuck with the sea of humans.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I want to call out here, I guess a big difference between Disneyland and Disney World is that Disneyland does not have a Christmas party. They have done it right after COVID. They tried to do the Christmas party route and it just wasn't successful. I'm sure that they found that their demographic isn't willing to pay an additional amount of money for the Christmas party. So they do, with their parade, you can actually catch snow along the parade route back by Small World as well, which is really magical and fun. So it's not just on Main Street.
Okay. All right, cool. I was not aware of that. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on Very Merry before we cross the parks to Hollywood Studios and talk about Jollywood?
Do you have any tips for people getting out of the parks? Because it seems like a lot of times, and maybe it's not this way with the parties, it's just such a mass exodus of humans. And maybe the parties, it's less, and so you don't need to worry about it as much. Do you have a favorite way of getting back to your resort from the Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, I really wish that they opened up the sides of behind Main Street more often, like they do at Disneyland. The reports I've heard were the parties are a little less full than in previous years. I wouldn't say that was our experience the last time we went. It still felt pretty full, but we also left late. So I think just given the price of the tickets and how tough it can be to catch buses, if you're not a monorail resort and you have young kids, I think my 2 cents would be let your kids sleep in or give them a power nap and just know that you're really going to wait till at least 30 minutes after the first parade is done. I think trying to leave before 9 o'clock, it's just so tough. Like when that first crush of people heads out, there just aren't enough options. And for folks who maybe aren't veterans of the Magic Kingdom, you'll know that if you want an Uber or a Lyft, you have to go all the way to ticketing and transportation to catch your Uber and Lyft. And I would say at least my personal experience with minivans, which is the Disney World version of an Uber or a Lyft, great, phenomenal, a little pricey. At those peak times when the parade finishes or fireworks finish, man, getting a minivan is just brutal. So I hate to say it. My best tip is if you don't think you can make it past 9, it might not be the right event for your family.
Yeah, especially because that's only a couple of hours too of the actual event time. So yeah, definitely my recommendation is to wait for a bus rather than trying to do an Uber or Lyft because of all of the things you said. You have to go to Ticket Transportation Center, therefore you have to do a monorail or a boat anyway. So just do the bus if you're heading to a resort.
Yeah, I guess one last tip if you're thinking about ways to get around, if you exited and the timing was your key, I would just get on whatever bus is there and just know that you're gonna have a lot easier time catching an Uber or Lyft from wherever that bus drops you off. You just need to get out of the area. So don't even think about what the resort is. Just look for whatever looks like it's got a space for you to hop on, get to a different resort, and then figure out your stuff from there. Hopefully you pick one that's maybe on the Skyliner route and you can Skyliner to your resort or something like that. But be thinking about 2 transportation methods to get home, not one, if time is important to you.
Yeah, that's a really excellent tip, Ed. Excellent tip. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go from excellent to we're not really sure with talking about Jollywood.
The jury's still out.
Yeah, jury's still out. You could tell that Steph and I are going to give you the honest take when we talk about Jollywood. Jollywood is a very similar structured event to Very Merry Christmas Party. It's a little bit more affordable, but not a lot. So that's like the first thing to note. The event starts later. So again, if you've got young ones, just be honest with yourself about whether they can make it the whole way. Event, it generally starts at 8:30, runs till a little after midnight. Same premise, you can get in 3 hours early, but price wise, you're going to be 160 to just shy of $200. I think 189 is the most expensive ticket for Jollywood. So, a little bit cheaper than Very Merry Christmas Party, but still, I mean, almost $200 a night per person to take advantage of this. There is a pass holder discount for both events of $10 a ticket, if you are an annual pass holder, but these are still investments. And so I think, with an 8:30 start for the festivities, you should really make sure that you can be there for the whole time period. There are fewer Jollywood nights, I think maybe based on previous year's reputation, which we're going to talk about a little bit, and also just that Hollywood Studios is a less popular park than Magic Kingdom during the holidays. These events will likely not sell out until much closer to the date of the event.
Yes, absolutely. So in the past, we've both heard that it hasn't been that great of an event. It really got a really rocky start. I have heard some good reports though, like towards the end and last year that they really started to figure things out, and I've heard that people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So your experience may vary. Right? I mean, I don't want to say that it's one way or the other. I don't want to say it's good or it's bad. It's just there, and that's what we've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I mean, so, we've had some friends that have attended that were in full, dumpster fire mode when they were there. There are some fun activations in the park. There's some, bars up at the Hollywood Studios area, Tower of Terror area. They do some fun stuff inside Brown Derby. It's another fun holiday event. There's a lot to see, but there definitely have been issues in terms of being able to get the activities. We heard very long lines for food and for drinks at the bars if the bar part is important to you. I did hear good things about ride lines. I didn't hear that people were waiting very long in line, but I think, with Hollywood Studios and the addition of multiple marquee rides, Slinky Dog pulling some people that way, the theater and Runaway Railway, and then, obviously Batu. You've got people wanting to do different things and a decent walk to some of those. So I would expect the low ride times to continue. But I think not having been to this event, but listening to friends talk about it and seeing some of the stuff online, my personal opinion is this would probably be a pass for me if I thought I could do a Very Merry Christmas Party.
I totally agree. And I think it would even be a pass for me in favor of some of the free things that you can do on site. Should we move into the free things that are fun to do during the holidays?
We should absolutely move into the free things. You want to start with Epcot?
Sure. Yeah, let's start with Epcot. You go ahead with Epcot.
Yeah, and one not free thing, to be clear. Candlelight Processional is a very fun activity. I personally still haven't done it yet, but I've had a bunch of friends that have done it. I've enjoyed it. So tell me about Candlelight Processional. We haven't been able to pull it off yet.
We did dessert dining one year, and I absolutely loved it. It was really, really fun. Candlelight is processional. They usually have someone really famous come in and read the Christmas story. They have choirs there singing songs. I loved it. You also can sneak views around different parts of the World Showcase and get little glimpses of it. It is sold out for this year. However, I have heard that you can get same-day seating at the counter service restaurant. It's a dining package at the counter service restaurant in America. So if you want to try that, some days they will offer that package. You just need to go in and ask for it.
Very cool. There's also lots of good festive stuff at Epcot. You've got, booths around to celebrate. And I think Epcot is a fun park to walk around in. Well, they're all fun to walk around in the holidays. What can I say?
Yeah.
Christmas is a great time to be at the parks. Even though Halloween's probably our favorite for the festivals, the parks all look beautiful for the holidays.
Yeah. Decorations for the holidays. Yes, absolutely 100.
They definitely crush it. And you'll usually find, especially if you're an annual pass holder, usually find some cool holiday photos that they'll do with, little magical pixie dust that they sprinkle onto your pictures. So those can be fun as well. In the category of truly free, other than hoping you find a parking spot quickly, there are a lot of fun things to do at Disney Springs. And so you might consider thinking about a bus or an Uber or a Lyft, because parking can be a little funky around the holidays at Disney Springs. But there are a couple of activities that you can do throughout Disney Springs. And one of them, I was looking for information on this while we were getting ready to record, just to see if they had any details about it online. I couldn't find anything that confirmed this as a recurring thing for this year. But first off, there's a tree stroll. So there are a bunch of themed trees throughout Disney Springs. There's some maps that you can pick up so you can get a sense of where all those trees are, everything from, Cocoa to Frozen to you name it, which, always a lot of fun to see those decorations. You can meet Santa. I think that this is actually a clutch way to meet Santa depending on time of day. The lines can be less brutal than trying to do it in other places if you time it right. And then the other thing that I couldn't find information out about, but has happened a number of times in previous years, in the backside of Disney Springs, sort of by the walkway to Saratoga Springs, there's like an empty lot, a back lot there, where in the past they've set up activities, photo booths and cutout activities for the kids and snow and stuff like that. Couldn't find anything official about that on the Disney Springs website, but the last handful of times we've been down there for Christmas, there's been some fun activities on the backside there as well.
So fun. And some other fun things that you can do is hopping around to the different resorts, because all of the resorts are decorated amazingly. So all of the Disney hotels, hit any of them and you can't go wrong. There is Allie Mae on Main did a post about what different ways that you can hop to the resorts and spend a whole day. And she makes recommendations on places to eat along the way as well. One of the recommendations, so we'll share that out, but you can also go to her Instagram account and find it there, Allie Mae on Main. But one of the changes that are adjustments that I would make, she does recommend taking a bus from Magic Kingdom to Hollywood Studios, I believe is what it is. And then from Hollywood Studios doing the Skyliner over to the Epcot World Showcase area, and then walking around all of those resorts. I would also recommend getting off at the stop. So I would stop at Caribbean Beach. I would stop at the other one that I can't think of the name of. The Riviera. The Riviera. I would stop at the Riviera as well. Get off and look at those resorts. Maybe grab a snack. There are lots of really good places to eat along the way. So definitely it would take you an entire day to do that. But it's a great, absolutely free thing to do, except for you're paying for your parking at Disney Springs.
Yeah, when you talk about free things to do in resort hopping, I'll comment on one other favorite for us that is technically free, but I have never actually gotten out of the building without spending a lot of money, and that's visiting the gingerbread house at Grand Floridian. So, unique activity every year. They build this wonderful gingerbread house in the middle of the lobby of Grand Floridian. Fortunately and unfortunately, they sell a lot of really fun treats. The line can be a bit long at times. We have a couple of ornaments that were made out of gingerbread that hang on our Christmas tree. They sell fresh gingerbread cookies. They sell a commemorative pin every year. There's a whole bunch of stuff at Grand Floridian, and I am both pleased and ashamed to think about how much I've spent visiting the free gingerbread house in the lobby.
So we need to check on that one, because my understanding is they aren't going to have it this year due to the construction.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, it's so
tragic.
Much fun. They're not gonna have it at all. Wow,
that's my understanding. Yeah,
I had not heard that.
They have had gingerbread houses at other resorts too around the parks.
Yep.
So definitely, we could make a social media post about gingerbread hopping, and which resorts have gingerbread houses and which don't.
Yeah, the Google says the gingerbread house is confirmed to be absent for 2025, with a return hoped for in 2026. And all I can say about that, Stephanie, is that I will save money this year by not being there. It's the only positive I can say, Steph, is I will not have a disgustingly large bill for a bunch of gingerbread that I love every year. I love gingerbread.
It's so good.
That's such a bummer. It's such a beautiful house, and you're right. There are others, but for me, Grand Flo is they just do such a great job with it.
100%. We should definitely make a list though of all of the resorts that have these gingerbread houses, because they're huge. It's not just a little gingerbread house.
No,
you could walk in the thing.
Yes. I agree.
It's huge.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think we're actually making it to a Christmas party this year based on our current schedule. December's a little crazy. Are you making it? Do you think you're going to make it to one this year?
No, if they were to continue them after Christmas, I would try and hit one because I am headed that way after Christmas. So, but I'm not going to be down there before the holidays at all. I'm hitting Disneyland a few times, but not Disney World.
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful that we'll be out at Disneyland for the holidays, but I haven't been able to work that out yet. Still something that I'm hopeful that we'll be able to work out.
Yeah, it's a long ways for you to come.
It is, but it's something we've never done for the holidays, so it's definitely something that we gotta chalk up on the list at some point. Definitely.
For sure, 100%. You can't beat Cars Land at Christmas time.
I bet. I bet. Yeah. I think overall, I think the takeaway for me is, these are pricey events. I think if you're planning a planning a holiday trip to Disney World, you should definitely think about these. But to that point, if you're buying a multi-day ticket, maybe this is your only ticket for that day. And so you're planning it in a way where this is on one of your down days. It's a big price to pay to not get a full day in the parks. So I would hate to see people burn 2 tickets for that one day. But definitely think Very Merry Christmas Party should be on your radar. I'm still in that camp of I'd probably do Epcot or the free stuff before I would go do Jollywood.
Yeah, so one last thing I want to mention is that if I were not going to be doing a party, I would definitely hit Magic Kingdom on a party day until close and then leave and then go do some resort hopping to see all of the festive things in all of the resorts. I would start with the monorail resorts and then probably take the monorail over to Epcot. And if you have a park hopper, that is, and then walk through Epcot and then hit those resorts over there that are by Epcot as well to fill out the rest of the day and make it super festive without the additional money.
I love that tip. Well, we hope that you found all of this interesting. We hope you guys will send us all of your favorite pictures and moments from this year's holiday party so we could live vicariously through you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and be sure to catch us at the